Once again, Slick and Shiny Productions gives you another look at Beatty Station. Beatty Station? How many people remember that? Not many. This is just a shot to establish context here, where we see the main line of the railroad coming through. Right here is Beatty, or was Beatty Station. And this time we're going to be coming in from the west and heading toward Beatty, going east. This is just a little map showing the topography and the railroad coming in here. We're going to be coming in from about this point out here, coming in toward Beatty Station. This is an old photograph from the 1890s, early 1890s. I just got this from Richard Stoner. He knew I was working on Beatty Station, so he sent this to me. He's a local photographer, and this is a photograph by a guy named William Rau, R-A-U, who in the 1890s was hired by the Pennsylvania Railroad to do photographs all along the Pennsylvania Railroad to encourage passenger traffic, actually. This is a train. It's just an engine and a car for Rau's equipment that the railroad gave to Rau for his work, photographing the main line. This is an enlargement from that photo. You can see Chestnut Ridge in the background, which is obviously still there. And another of the few things that are still there is Beatty's barn. That was the Beatty, and it was the Beatty's farm that this was all in the middle of, and that was their barn. That was William Rau's traveling machine. That was his, he had his equipment in there for his photography. And this is yet another stage of enlarging that. As the enlargements get bigger, the detail gets a little bit less. But I just wanted to show you some of the things you don't see anymore at Beatty. There was a passenger station and a freight station. This was the underpass that's still out there. That's another old photograph looking down the tracks. Another shot looking down the tracks. And what I want to emphasize here is that the tracks are going straight. That didn't last. As the years went by, see how the tracks moved? That was a result of some realignment that the Pennsylvania Railroad did around 1906 and 1907. And there's a story behind that. And this is part of the story. This is mapping done in 1906. It shows the old alignment of the Pennsylvania Railroad in purple, which was coming into Beatty. This is Beatty right here. This is the passenger station and the freight station at Beatty. And this is the old alignment with the Frick coke ovens up here called the Monastery Coke Works, which had nothing to do with St. Vincent, incidentally. And this was the new alignment of the railroad. I'll show it to you another way. This is Beatty out here. This is the main line coming from Latrobe as it did originally. And this is the realignment. I've said this before, but a rule of thumb building a railroad is you first of all do it on the cheap, and then when the money comes in, then you do all the things you would have liked to do at the beginning. And this new alignment is an improvement, which they eventually got around to doing. This shows you the original alignment. It's topography, topographical map. But what they were doing was avoiding this big hill. Topography shows you the big hill here, and they didn't want to go through that because they were in a hurry to get their railroad finished, and they knew it would take quite a while to go digging through that. So they simply avoided the problem by going around it. And then around 1906, 1907, they had better equipment and more money. This is the equipment that they had then, and they were able to dig right through that thing. This is just showing you once again. This is Beatty right here. Now this old alignment shown in purple was not abandoned. It was used for something. It was used for an entrance point to a new siding. This in yellow was a siding that was being put in for a mine that was just being built in 1906. This mapping was for an agreement between Frick Coal and Coke and Mount Pleasant Coke Company, which incidentally had their offices in Greensburg. To show you better what I'm talking about, I show you mapping from the 1960s. In the 1960s, you could still find the old alignment. Right here is the old alignment coming in. This is the new railroad here, the main line. I was walking through this field in the 1960s, and I found the old railroad. There wasn't a railroad. There was just this depression in the field, which I wondered, why was that there? And it took me a long time to find out. What also is there's just a trace of the siding that was put in for that new mine and coke works that were being put in, which I can show you in this mapping from 1939. See, here you have the new main line, the old alignment, and taking off from the old alignment was the siding that we saw the mapping for. This siding is going down to what became known as Beatty Mine number 1 and number 2, put in by the Mount Pleasant Coke Company. This was the patch. This was the houses for the miners. Now I'm going to show you very much the same scene, only a bit better photography of it. That's the coke works that they were putting in. This is a better shot. It's simply better exposure. This is the road coming down from Beatty. This is the mine that became known as Beatty. This was Beatty Patch. This was Route 30, actually the Lincoln Highway. Also, when you see a coke works, you usually see a body of water. This was a big pond that was put in to do the work at the coke oven. You needed a lot of water to make coke. This is present tense today. This is the road coming down to Route 30. The coke ovens are gone. They've been replaced by Unity Township's municipal offices. Unfortunately, they left the pond here, the pond that was used for water for making coke. This is a aerial shot from the 1960s. I was walking on that road in the 1960s. We were walking along here. There was some people with me, and they made a joke about saying, "Don't let coke oven Sally get you." There was a reference to the coke ovens, which were still here. It was one of those old stories that hang around, probably from the times of the Depression, when people used to live in coke ovens. A lot of the old abandoned coke ovens were used as housing for people who had been thrown out of their homes by the banks and sometimes the mines. But when people lost their mortgages and their houses, the banks simply threw them out. And you could find people then living in coke ovens. That's just a context shot. This is Beatty Station, the road coming down, and the mine that became known as Beatty 1 and 2, and Beatty Coke Works, and Beatty Patch, and Route 30 down here. I think we've done enough, and we'll say so long right now.